Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be?
Is it better to be a leader in a large effort or a small one? One of the main challenges of leadership in a postmodern contemporary era where everyone can be anything all the time is the challenge of scale. When you lead something small, the impact can seem to be innocuous, unimportant, and not quote-unquote worth your time as a leader. Part of this thinking is generated by the whispers of grandiosity that our egos inevitably shove to the front of our minds as leaders. Part of this thinking is also generated by an education system, part of an industrial system, that makes much of the quote-unquote great men and women of history, and of course makes much of the intersection of their actions with the quote-unquote arc of history, and where this arc bends or doesn't. When you do something or lead something large, however, the impact can seem to be huge, important, and quote-unquote worth your energies and talents. Part of this thinking is driven by the narcissism of small differences within and between large projects. Part of the thinking is also a product of the legends we tell each other about the large things, the large products, the large projects, and the large companies that are left behind when a leader, as all leaders inevitably do, passes from this mortal coil. But the Greek Archimedes once said, "Give me a firm place to stand and a lever, and I can move the earth." And the author of the Gospel of James pointed out that the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. James 3, 5-6. The point is, as a leader, small can get you in trouble, but small is also often better. Scale defeats us with exhaustion, ambition, ego, pride, greed, vanity, and of course, my personal favorite, envy. Plus, the ripple effect of small things, small projects, and small changes is hard enough to measure, much less to successfully begin and end with a group of people. Leaders, choose the size of your efforts wisely. And well, that's it for me.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.